Hey, I'm Justin, and this is how to use stress and poor sleep as fuel to recreate your lifestyle. So, whenever we look at any realm of improvement or increasing, anything related to measurement, we have to be gentle here. And I say that because we're zooming in, right? We're looking at the content, which, although it is content of a fundamental structure, right? Rest. So when we talk about sleep, it isn't necessarily too tricky, too personal, but at the same time, we do have to be gentle when we zoom in. And particularly, it just has to be felt that there's a balance between being zoomed in and zooming out. So, how to use stress and poor sleep as fuel to recreate your lifestyle. We're really making pain known. We're admitting that things just don't necessarily feel right, and that there is some form of conflict within the way that we operate on a daily, moment-to-moment basis. Now, it can feel a little maybe rough to admit that, but you're doing a great job. If you can start to just be a little honest with yourself in relationship to bringing skepticism in your life, like just saying, is my relationship with rest healthy? And it can be very simple, right? Like, I'm not saying people can't operate on 5 or 6 hours. I know people who do well, who can. But at the same time, they themselves are starting to see that something's tearing down, that something has to change, or else, right? Just as the snowball compounds and grows bigger, that works also for downward spirals. So compounding is a beautiful thing, but it can also be a thorn. And we have to just be honest with ourselves and start to say, you know what, like, I am living stressed, right? It might not be simple for you to get that out, but notice the rationalizations, right? If you go and you even consider pondering, like, am I carrying more weight? Am I living a stressed life? Maybe could things be smoother? And if you start to hear or feel any sort of like rationalization, a voice, just your thinking, starting to rationalize, no, it's okay to get 6 hours a night. Just watch that, right? When you just watch the way that your psychology works, you can learn through paying attention to that. Now, it really the content's almost irrelevant. But the bottom line is that your psychology is probably going to be a little, there's going to be some form of weight. And that weight is almost indistinguishable from what attachment is. And it's okay, because naturally the structure of the ego and the self is that we become attached to things. It just seems to be that way. But also the structure of what we are is that we naturally have the capacity to see and notice rather than be so stuck. And this is what I was kind of hinting at when I prefaced with the zooming in and zooming out and that balance. And this is what I mean. We do have to operate through that sense of self. It's necessary, but we have the capacity to not get so stuck, to not like be so in what is happening, but actually to just be zoomed out a bit and understand the context, which can help bring patience, patience and awareness and compassion. Really, compassion is the thing that we're getting at. And this is when you look at your stress, you look at your poor sleep, it leads you to almost clearly see that there are moments in your day that had you gotten 8 or 9 hours, and had you not been stuck in thought in that moment when someone said something to you and you reacted rather than, really sharing who you are with them in that moment, you can see that there's the potential to behave more aligned, to behave in a way where you contribute to less conflict in yourself and in others, less division. When we do the work, it just naturally radiates, because the world really does operate in some sense of a reflection or a mirror. And you can start to really learn through paying more attention to the English language. Like projection. What is projecting? Reflections, mirrors. It's so we look and you say the world isn't as it is, the world is as you are, implying that the world is a mirror. And so when we feel a certain way, that's actually what we are. And that's why I emphasize the noticing and the paying attention to the thoughts that we have and the feelings. Because that's what we are. And what happens is our ego, our program, our self, judges that. And we kind of divide ourselves. So also, this dividing of ourselves, it's indistinguishable whether it is within our own psychology or within external conversation. I'm dabbling there between saying conversation and connection, but I held the word connection because the truth is that so many of us are not connecting. And what does it mean to actually connect with another human being, right? Because that's what we're getting at. When you live less stressed, you fix your fundamentals, that means you're naturally going to be more abundant, more aligned. In terms of, you're going to have the fuel to see the parts of you that are obstructing your light from shining, your awareness from, doing the work, so that you notice the behavior, the thoughts that have insight within them, if you'll notice them. But it really does take a energy and a clarity to do the noticing. And that's why I talk about the fundamentals, to get everyone to the point where they can do the real work. It's kind of like an introduction to, how in college you got to take those BS intro courses to take the real course that you want to take. It's kind of something similar to that, but way more juicy. I digress. We're really just simplifying the game here. That's what it is. And I'm going to bring up structure for a moment, because we have the fundamentals. That's one structure. We have the big thing, the key, the awareness, right? The fundamentals lead to the big thing. Between the fundamentals and the big thing, we have this psychological space. And when we talk about stress and sleep, this matters too. Because if you don't live a certain way, meaning, right, your body needs sunlight, your body needs fresh air, you need good rest and exercise. Like a healthy human being needs certain things. And you'll never get to the point where you see the beauty and the fruit of life without at least starting to take care of your physical vessel, your body. Like, if we make it super simple, I feel that isn't a stretch. Like, it makes sense. You just kind of have to zoom out a bit and consider that maybe life is deeper than just the material. And that maybe that's kind of the dam, the blockade for many people, is just slowing down enough to even have the time or the physical space to just sit in a chair or go on a walk. Like, I don't really do inquiry or think. It's not even thinking, though. The inquiry is not thinking. But I don't necessarily do this work sitting all the time right now, so I digress. Contradiction. Totally fine. We're just looking at simplifying this. So we talk about psychological space and its relationship to stress and the fundamentals. And, we live in alignment. We take care of our bodies. And it's not getting too stuck in the simple things. So when I say, we talk about fundamentals, I consistently focus on structure because so many of us get too detailed, too specific with the fundamentals. Now, I'm not implying that you can't be sharp and accurate, but I am getting at our egos get pleasure from entertaining ourselves with information. That's a smooth line. Our egos get pleasure from entertaining ourselves with information. So there's a lot of overconsumption. And when we overconsume, even if we are healthy, taking care of ourselves, if we get too deep into shallow topics, right? To be honest, that's kind of dropping a hammer for a lot of people, right? Because I am talking about, there's layers here, as in business turns into something that truly can teach you. You can let business allow you to do this deeper, real work, as in it'll trigger things that you notice. And if you do the noticing, well, you learn while you do business. Same thing with family. And I think what happens is we kind of have the structure of life, the game mixed up, as in the system doesn't at all prioritize the deepening, the expanding of what you are. Really learning how to play this game of life. None of our structures, our professional, government, societal structures go that angle. And it's really the most fundamental angle because we're talking about behavior and relationships, communication. We're going to be here with other human beings. I mean, that's at least what it feels like is going to continue to be the case. So why not learn how to live together without conflict? It's possible, and it's not far off. It's just seeing through the falseness of holding on to the fake, illusory attachments created by the self and all of our opinions and beliefs. All we have to do is do the noticing and listen. When we just zoom out, you simplify the game, you clean up your fundamentals, you sharpen up the fundamentals, and you don't go too into the shallow things, right? So that means that you're more so a generalist. And how do you do that? It's living a strategical life. And that means, you can't do everything, but you can do a lot more things than you may expect. So it's really about sort of understanding how the ego likes to distract itself with its pleasures, its attachments. It'll play games even with its dislikes, And to start to become more aware of when we're just directing ourselves in a way that doesn't necessarily align with, what's most meaningful to us, right? Because there's a lot of fun, entertaining, juicy looking things in life. That's all right. But is that what we're going to sway to? Or is the meaning behind you and us being here, is that going to be sort of the compass that we truly wake up to? Because it's so much simpler than it seems, but it's like, for you to get to the point where doing the work is actually important, I feel that's the complicated part. And that is sort of how devious and tricky our egos can be in distracting us and making us run loops, and play zero-sum games. But maybe that's something to journal about right there. That's a sweet conclusion, or discovery, rather. Like, for you, am I playing zero-sum games? Am I directing my energy in a way that just isn't that meaningful to me? And if you open up about that, I can almost guarantee you'll get some insights through doing that. So hopefully this was valuable. I feel it was, If you enjoyed, just check out the newsletter below. I'm writing 3 to 4 emails per week, and I have something I'm excited about coming out very soon. I'll talk about it soon. Have a great day. Let's go.